Today Sylvie and I are in the Northamptonshire village of Blisworth, which is situated about 5 miles south of Northampton. And it's from here that we're going to take a walk along the course of the Grand Union Canal to the neighbouring village of Stoke Bruerne. One of the charming features of this village are the many old houses built from locally quarried Blisworth ironstone and sandstone, giving them this unusual two-tone appearance. Blisworth is situated on the Grand Union Canal, although a large hill, known as Blisworth Hill, posed a huge obstacle to the canal builders in the late 18th century. Sylvie and I are starting our walk from the side of the canal, and we're going to walk about a quarter of a mile to the northern end of the tunnel. After walking a few hundred yards along the canal, we arrive at the Blisworth entrance to the tunnel. But as there is no walkway or footpath through the tunnel, we have to leave the canal and walk over Blisworth Hill on a footpath. It was decided that a tunnel should be constructed underneath Blisworth Hill, which was a major engineering challenge. Surprisingly, the man charged with the task of digging the tunnel could neither read nor write, and made all the necessary calculations in his head. When we get to the top of the hill, there are two routes we can take. One is a narrow road directly to Stoke Bruerne, and the other is a more scenic footpath across the fields. Sylvie and I opt for the footpath. As we enter one of the fields, we can see a tall structure situated in one of the neighbouring fields. This is actually the air shaft for the tunnel, which runs deep underneath. Before construction on the tunnel began, a railway line was built in order to carry the canal's cargo overland from Stoke Bruerne to Blisworth. The canal tunnel was finally completed in 1805 and the temporary railway line was closed down. The footpath walk is about 2 miles and takes us through both arable fields and pastures. We even came across a rather amusing scarecrow en route. The footpath eventually brings us out onto a narrow lane, and it's here we walk about 100 yards before taking another footpath which leads us downhill towards the other end of the tunnel near Stoke Bruerne. The Blisworth Tunnel, as it is now known, is the longest navigable tunnel in the country at 3,075 yards. Here we take a short rest and watch some of the activity on the canal. Well, after a short break, we carry on walking towards the locks at Stoke Bruerne. Here there are many narrow boats moored along the banks of the canal, and surprisingly one of them is actually a floating bar, and I'm amazed that Sylvie walked right past it without even noticing it. Well, I called her back and we stopped for a couple of refreshing beers. I had to admire the lovely flowers on the front end of the beer boat, which the landlord's wife was clearly enjoying talking about with passers-by. Stoke Bruerne is also home to a Canal Museum, plus there are several cafes, shops and pubs around the dock area. It's a very popular tourist attraction and draws many hundreds of visitors every day. There are also regular boat trips up and down the canal that take tourists as far as the tunnel, but not through it. The canal itself is often bustling with activity, and it's always a joy to watch the many narrowboats transiting through the locks.
So, Jambo, let's get a cheeky ticket.
Blimey.
Oh yeah, we had a good half hour on that was brilliant.
You driving it in? Well, after an enjoyable couple of hours at Stoke Bruerne, Sylvie and I decided to start heading back to Blisworth. Well, when we reached the top of the hill above the tunnel entrance, Sylvie and I decided to take the narrow lane back to Blisworth. It's a more direct route and it's a lot quicker. This route also takes us over the top of Blisworth Hill, and it's from here we get a closer look at the air shaft directly above the tunnel. As we approach Blisworth, we're amazed to find a deer farm just outside the village. Well, we've had an enjoyable walk which has lasted about 5 hours and taken us almost 6.5 miles.